let's just jump right into the trauma here that this movie is going to inject on you, hopefully. Starting with the IMDb plot, Mikey's night terrors become reality when his mother begins showing signs of demonic possession. What he's about to experience will haunt him for the rest of his life and claim countless lives across generations. All right, all sounds definitely traumatizing. All right, so we're gonna get right into this one. I was sent a screener for this one, and so let you guys know that off the top. And with that, I usually kind of try to keep these spoiler free. But I cannot guarantee that I'm going to keep this completely spoiler free here. I might warn you here or there if I might get off track. But the reason is, and I'm going to tell you guys right off the top, is that I really love this film. I've been kind of looking for a film that I really, really enjoyed, looking for something that really kind of grabbed me and said, that's the film for me. Not that I haven't seen some good films, There's definitely some good films out there, films that I liked and so forth. But something that just said, for me. And this one, it turned out to be it. So, if you're kind of worried about the spoiler-free thing or whatever, just know that I absolutely enjoyed this film. And I'm going to get into it, which is why I might not be able to contain myself and hold everything spoiler-free to talk about all the goodness that I liked in it. But I will try to warn you if I kind of get off track. Anyway, so yeah, let's just kind of guide you a little bit through what's going on here. Early on in the movie kind of opens with a guy in a desert, and he's got this weird kind of statue, looks like a bird, and he kind of starts talking some weird stuff, and you're kind of seeing these flashes of something really bad happening, and mentioning of children and being taken or something like that. Just this is basically kind of a setup of what's this statue represents and so forth, and the evil in it really is just kind of setting that up. And then he does some weird stuff and buries the statue, and it's just kind of a weird scene, and kind of like, oh, what is happening here? Is this going to be this movie or not? But then bam, it just takes you right into this home. After that scene, takes you right into this home, and you see a young boy. The house is completely dark, and he's making a phone call to the police, saying something about his mom, and maybe she's gone crazy or something like that. And he's kind of looking around, and at first you don't see anybody, but then you kind of do, and there's definitely something there, definitely a woman figure, but you're not sure what the hell is happening. And it's a really good creepy moment that happens there as the mom starts chasing him around the house, which eventually ends then with the two of them kind of sitting there on the couch. And obviously you're going to see really quickly there's something seriously wrong with her, and then you kind of seeing them watch something play out on TV. Not long after that, you're going to see another very intense scene where that kind of call to the cop kind of comes through, and he's going to come visit the house, and we're going to see an intense scene of him being in the house looking for this woman who has kind of let him in but now kind of disappeared, and let's just say something else bad is going to happen. From that point, the film kind of goes backwards, and it's going to show you kind of how this boy ended up in this house and what happened to this woman, and it's going to kind of go through that chain of events, and then kind of skip forward after that to kind of show you the completion of that time period of what happens later with the boy when he's now grown up. So we're going to kind of see, kind of different time periods in this movie and different stuff happening. Now, I did leave, some of the stuff out because again, I said I was going to try to be spoiler free, but going to be very hard here in a moment. But I want to kind of touch on the goodness of the film and the reasons why I liked it. So that's basically the basics of the setup here, and I'll you'll get a few more things here as I begin to talk about it. So that scene where early on when you see the little boy there, it is definitely intense. I like how they gave you that weird opening, but then they jump right into the intense scene, pitch black. You don't know what's going on here with this woman, and I really liked how the film kind of did it two ways. You kind of see it in a regularly filmed way, and then you also see it as if you were seeing it through the kid's eyes. So as he's kind of moving through the house, and maybe running, it almost feels found footage, but obviously the kid is not running with his camera, not running with a phone in his hand or anything like that, filming it all. So it kind of has that kind of feel to it, but also it had that video game feel, like when you're there and you're the character and you're just kind of weaving around a dark space and whatever. For those gamers out there, it kind of gives you that feel as well. So I thought that made it that much more intense and that much more scary. And then I thought they kind of picked good times to kind of mix it up and take it away from that view and then take it back to, okay, now you're seeing kind of the kid and what he's doing, or seeing the mom here and what she's doing, and just picked good timing to kind of scare you or freak you out and scare the shit out of the kid as well. And then they double down on that and do a very similar thing kind of with the cop. Now, the cop, you don't really, maybe, you're kind of getting more of the regular scene, where you're kind of seeing him and following him. You're not really seeing it through his eyes because, he's not, the important character here. Obviously, the boy is a very important character in this film. So which is why you kind of saw it through his eyes. But it does kind of sneak away and show you a moment or two from that angle because the boy is there in the house and he's watching. But definitely another intense scene, as the cop's going in and he's seeing things in the house and he eventually figures out that maybe he needs backup. And, he sees a couple of things that definitely make him want to have backup. And then he's eventually going to go into the basement, which is a mistake. And then something, just really creepy happens before, obviously, he's going to end up, getting the brunt of it from this woman. I just, when they eventually come head to head, I just loved that moment. They did that really good. Gave you some creepiness, and I'm sure, maybe some people laughed at it. I think, it was in either or in that situation. Either you're going to laugh at it, or it might have been like, ooh, that's kind of creepy. But it's gonna kind of do that to you. And then, so I think they give you really two good, intense, creepy, dark scenes there, kind of back to back. It really, kind of gets you into it. If you're into that, if you're kind of into the scares, into the darkness and whatever, really kind of gets you into the mood of that. Before the movie then kind of jumps to, having to kind of explain some stuff. It then, kind of like I said, goes backwards, and you're going to see a father, I should say, who, with the dealings with another guy, received this statue, and he's got two young girls. One is really young, and then one's probably a late teenager or so forth. And basically he's there, and he's just gotten divorced, and he gets off an angry phone call. I think he was trying to contact his wife and whatever, or his ex-wife now, and then his partner calls and says, hey, did you get the statue? If you did, don't mess with it, don't open it. I'm reading all this stuff about it. It's got some evil in it. And of course, what is he going to do? Of course, he's going to do what he's not supposed to do. He opens it up, blah, blah. He's in a bad mood. And obviously that kind of sets off the evil here. That evil then, he is kind of takes over him a little bit before, it's kind of projected onto his daughter. And his daughter ends up being the mother here that's in this home with this boy. I'm going to leave out, there's some creepy scene or let's say a not right scene that kind of happens in between there. Then they do give you a pretty, disgusting kind of scene. I don't know what way to call it. But, maybe another kind of jump scare kind of scene. I'll leave that kind of detail out for you, leave something out for you. Which forces the young girl to kind of leave, and then you find out she goes to one of their old houses that had burned down in a previous time, and that's the house that you see her and the boy at. That happened earlier in the film, and basically, as she's there, she's kind of hiding from her father, but also not really realizing that her father is now kind of like possessed by this demon that he's released, and as she's in the house, the demon is kind of using the father now to, get her to do what the demon wants and to kind of terrorize her. And basically the demon is interested in children. And I won't go into the explanation of what it wants with the children, whatever. But that's what it wants. But, so she's got to go and get children. And, apparently she's gotten a couple, but the demon wants something very specific. So apparently, she has failed with a couple of them, which is not good for those children. And, then eventually she does end up with Mikey here, and that's the little boy that we did see. The film is then going to kind of show you the conclusion of what happened after, she kind of deals with the cop there. And that ends in a very terrific moment, which, guys know that I love blood and guts and whatever, and showing stuff and not being at the moment of something happens and the camera cuts away and goes away and you don't see it, you see the aftermath. No, it's going to end in a very intense thing that happens. I'll leave that out. But what I really liked is they showed it to you. It happens, bam, and you get to see it, and it's so nice for those that like to see that kind of blood and guts and things. It is a horror movie. Let's see it, and it does. So you know that I'm all for it. I'm very happy. At this moment, you could say that there's something wrong with me, blah blah. But I'm a horror fan. I want to see the horror in the movie. I don't want to see cutaway. I don't want to see, you show me aftermath. No, I want to see this. So they show it to you. Fantastic. Fantastic. All happy so far with this movie. Even though I'm really, even to this time after watching the movie, still not completely 100%. And I'm sure they explained it. I just missed it because I was happy about other stuff. Sure, what the hell the demon wanted with the children, but whatever. That's besides the point. It doesn't matter. That's his problem, their problem, whatever. So now the film's then going to move forward, and you're going to see Mikey. Mikey's obviously survived this whole incident, but is definitely, as the kind of title kind of teases, in a weird way, whatever it's supposed to completely mean. He's traumatized. Maybe some of the audience is traumatized at this point. I don't know. But, we see him later on. And we also see the sister of the girl here. Remember, there was two girls here. She is now grown up. And, she's also been traumatized by this event. And she's going to go on a show. This woman wants to kind of ask her questions about her what happened to her sister, what happened to her family, because I believe she wrote a book about it, and so forth. So that kind of brings that kind of to the forefront again. And I guess Mikey kind of gets notice that I think he sees the interview or listens to it or whatever, and you kind of see him sort of see that this interview is happening, which kind of brings him out. And then he's going to search her out, and then kind of in a kind of very spooky way on Halloween, of course it has to be Halloween, kind of come to her house and have a very weird conversation in a very weird way, which is going to then start the chain of events that's kind of leading us down the final act of the movie. Um, but let's say we don't see Mikey. Mikey, comes to her house. It is Halloween with a sheet over his head, like he's a ghost, and but he's obviously grown up, so it's a little weird. But anyway, like I said, he's gonna end up having this kind of creepy conversation with her, and then in the back, and then the end of it kind of says, I'm sorry I brought him here, and obviously referring to the demon, as he then takes off because he's scared shitless, and then she's kind of like, what? Now, I guess if there was any minor complaint there, I don't know really where the demon was left off, because obviously Mikey goes on to go crazy at this point, so you never really. But he's just kind of traumatized by this. I thought maybe the film was going to kind of stay in this house and maybe have a moment between this demon and the young sister. But it didn't. And I thought, I don't know if it just wasn't meant to, wasn't important, wasn't part of what it was. And I think obviously the film kind of turns its attention to Mikey, which is what the demon, was after, all along. So maybe the sister wasn't all important, but, I thought maybe there was a chance there to kind of give us some kind of scare with the sister. But instead, it just kind of shifts. And we see Mikey, the sister's boyfriend, kind of pulls up outside, and Mikey goes to town on him. Another nice scene. Let's be very brutal. Let's just kill him. Let's get him. And Mikey then is completely flipped. So he goes and he's gonna go to the studio, and basically with his ghost thing on, but he puts on a jacket, puts on a hat on top of the ghost thing. So he looks kind of scary, but also kind of funny, and so forth. And he, the guy was a security guard, so he takes his gun. So he's going to go to the studio where they had just, they had done this previous interview with the sister, and proceed to just start shooting people and kill everybody there. So Mikey is completely, the trauma has overtaken Mikey. And, as he's kind of killing people, he's kind of having flashbacks, and you're just going to see moments of him in that house with the demon. And so every time he's kind of like killing someone, it's kind of like he's killing the demon, or taking out that violence on the demon. So that's kind of what, I thought they did a good job of kind of, showing you, his trauma. It's not just he's just killing people because whatever. And I realize now, as I'm saying this, I basically told you all the film and ruined everything for you. So I apologize. I kind of warned you at the beginning, because I was a little excited about this one. But yeah, now I've kind of gone too far. But whatever. We're here. So yeah, so he just, runs amok in there. So yeah, again, I thought maybe, the sister was going to kind of receive a traumatizing moment, but instead, the film kind of picks up on Mikey, and Mikey's gone nuts now. And, I won't say the exact, things that happen, and the conclusion of this. I've already ruined so much already. I will say, the very final thing that kind of happens, not, I guess there's a slight post-credit thing, not that, but the way I guess the film kind of ends, before the credits start rolling, I see why they ended it there, and I guess it just seemed like a good place to kind of do, but I don't know, maybe it's because I really was enjoying it. I kind of wanted more. I didn't want it to end there. I'm a little bit 50-50 on that. I liked what happened, but the fact that the movie kind of just ended at that thing, it is impactful, obviously, but I don't know. I don't know if I was completely, sold on that being where the film kind of ended. Again, it's maybe a little bit me wanting more craziness, and I thought maybe there was more room to go. But again, since the movie kind of shifts, with its focus, I guess it seemed appropriate to do that. So, 50-50 there. I get why, but, I don't know. So, I think at the end, I have, maybe I'll draw them up as minor complaints. But I think at the end of the day, it's just, those complaints, just wanting more from the movie, more from where it's going and stuff. So yeah, I was thoroughly pleased with how this movie went. I thought also that the film kind of gave you kind of, almost different viewpoints and different kind of horrors, like definitely dark and creepy and maybe in a way jump scares at the beginning. Then obviously in the back half becomes kind of like a slasher almost. Still with that still uncertain, creepy vibe to it. While the demon is in the background and you will see it a couple of times, the demon in itself is creepy. Obviously, if you've seen the poster, it is there. Really like the poster. Had a nice time playing around with the poster. If you saw some of the shorts in the short section, I had a nice time playing with the poster with that one. I guess there's a couple of different versions, and so that kind of gives you a glimpse of the demon. He's just nice and creepy there, and they made good use of him. But you would also think that you see the demon there, and while he's more of like in the background, they will use him in a moment or two to kind of creep you out and freak you out and so forth, and maybe give you a jump scare here or there. But he's not like a central on top of you figure here, which was an interesting thing. So I like, how they kind of mix up the horror here, so kind of giving you a little bit of different things. And like I said, it's going to give you some blood and guts here, maybe not guts, but it's going to give you some blood, going to give you some impact, not going to turn you away. You're going to see the blood splatter here, which I enjoyed. And, that always makes me happy. So had a good time with that. And I will say that when I received the first press release for this, it didn't include a trailer, and it said something to the effect that that they couldn't show us the trailer because it was too scary or something like that, something to that kind of effect. And then of course, like a week later or so, they send us the trailer, and of course it's there. I did not watch the trailer. Of course, I could have watched it and say, okay, is this really scary or not, whatever. I didn't watch the trailer, even though I shared it, and I know I'm going to share it, plenty of times, because that when I like a movie, I will start sharing it like crazy. And I will say that, as of this review, I haven't really started sharing it as crazy, because I'm doing this a little bit early. But, when we get closer, I will start sharing this like crazy. But, so I really can't judge, if that trailer kind of gave away too much or not. But if you're still listening at this point, I basically already said way too much. So either the trailer or myself have ruined it for you by this point. But I sometimes comment on stuff living up to stuff like that. But I will say, maybe I wasn't personally scared, but I could definitely see how this movie kind of especially early on in those two scenes early on, kind of pushed some people to the edge of their seat. And was kind of like, holy crap, super intense, super dark, super trying to get you in many different ways. And kind of stuff, and then until we get to kind of slasher stuff towards the end. But yeah, super excited about this one. Super liked this one, as you guys can tell. Really enjoyed it. I guess the way it kind of ended, and it is one of these demon kind of things. I guess at some point in history, they could do another one. I don't know if that's the intention here, and I believe this one was started as a festival film, and some people have already seen it. So I don't know. I guess if it does well once it releases, maybe some point. But I don't know. But I thought I enjoyed so many different aspects of this film, and just it was definitely a film that kind of came to me and said, hey, this is something you're gonna like, and I'm like, yes, this is something I like. Again, you guys caught some of the other reviews, liked some other movies that have come out this year, whatever, but, just nothing that completely said, hey, over here, it's me. And, if you've been following my reviews, you can say that I've been looking for that, as we move closer and later into the year now, that movie that's going to be at the top of my list. I'm kind of putting this one aside, and this one is definitely going to be up there. And right now, it is going to be up there. I mean, whether you guys like it or not, at the end of the day, maybe it's not your style of movie. Like I said, it is a little bit bloody at times. Maybe that's not you. Maybe you don't get it. Maybe it gets too much into the jump scare there early on, and that's not you, not your type of film. Whatever. I get it. Maybe there's some other issues that you had with it. Whatever. But for me, I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. I hope you guys enjoy the hell out of this movie. Really sorry if I spoiled it and you haven't seen it yet and you want to watch it and you watch this whole thing as I go on and on about how much I've enjoyed this movie. I apologize. Try not to spoil movies for you guys, but every once in a while, I do have to do one where I just let it go. So with that, I think I'm gonna give it 4.5 pools of blood out of 5. Just like I said, few minor things there, but mostly just because I wanted more from it here and there. But otherwise, really, really, really liked this one. So I hope you guys like this one too. Again, if you did or didn't, definitely in the comment section, please let me know. Because I'm eager to see, once it finally gets released and kind of talk about it, see posts about it, if people liked it as much as I did. So with that, again, 4.5 pools of blood out of 5 for this one. And with that, horrorsgoryreviews.blogspot.com, so you can find all my reviews written in videos, certainly tons of video reviews for a while now, so you can like, subscribe, and do everything else that everybody wants you to do. If not, no worries, it's okay. I thank you for your time regardless, even if I ruined the movie for you. Twitter, Facebook information down below as well. Reach out to me, whether you like the movie or not, let me know. If you want to talk about horror or other things, feel free to do so there. And definitely in the comment section, again, once you guys kind of see this movie, let me know. I will certainly make sure the information about the movie is linked down below from the press release that we put out. Is down there below, so you guys can make sure to know where to find it, and so forth. So with that, I'll catch you in the next review, horror fans.